Hi, it's Rona, and I have another layout today for Scraplift Crafternoon. We're scrap lifting this gorgeous layout from Joe Scrap Enzo. Today I am scrap lifting a layout of my granddaughter, and I'm scrap lifting this, and this will come up on my daughter's birthday. So in honor of my daughter, I'm scrap lifting her daughter at the age that she was when she loved Winnie the Pooh. So I'm going to be doing some things with some Winnie the Pooh. I'm showing you some of what I'm going to be using today, and I'm going to give you my honest review about this mixed media pad from Vicki Boutin. I have the watercolor paper and the linen paper that I'm using today. I also have that one sheet of the Echo Park Winnie the Pooh line. That one is an Echo Park also. I think the line was Be Happy. I have some other scraps and solids, a little bit of Vicki Boutin Storyteller, and some assemblage required wood veneer that is just adorable. I absolutely love it. I have a few stamp sets. Also from the Echo Park Winnie the Pooh line, I have the chipboard and the brads. They're the self-adhesive brads. So that's what I'm going to be using for the products, the mixed media products. I'm using some Vicki Boutin Cosmic Watercolor in Rainbow. And I'm also, when I'm working on the yellow here, I am using a gold from that Vicki Boutin set, and then also the Bria Reese watercolor creams has a yellow in it, and I added that in also and then just mixed it up in that little pot. I did that off screen, but I wanted it to be a little bit more yellow to go with the paper that I'm using in this this collection. So I am doing a wet on wet technique where I add the water and then drop in the color. The watercolor paper is kind of thin, and it is pooling a little bit in the middle. So you'll see me as I bend the paper in half so that the it doesn't pool right in the center where the most water absorbed. It will kind of run out to the edges. It gives it a nice look around the edges. I like the watercolor to dry a little bit darker around the edges. That just feels more natural to me. Everybody does it different, but that's what I like. So I bend it, I let it sit like that for a little bit, let the watercolor run out to the edges. It kind of adds a more natural edge than just the watercolor brushes will leave. And so I just hold it like that for a few minutes, then I set it aside to dry because I don't want to add my blue and turn my yellow all green. So here I am tearing this linen paper, and it's different. It's kind of it's almost plasticky, and when you tear it, it just like curled up the edges. You're like tearing a thin, really thin sheet of plastic. So I'm going to go ahead and trim it off so that it's going to fit in on my layout properly. Not being too particular there, but I am going to straighten up the edge a little bit. I had already tried out the watercolor when I mixed up the yellow on the branding strip from this linen paper, and it did not dry at all. So that's something to keep in mind if you are going to be using the linen paper. It is not meant for wet media, apparently, because it doesn't dry. It kind of sits on top, and even after letting it dry for quite a while, it didn't dry. So I am using some Distress Oxide in Mermaid Lagoon and stamping on it, and that works beautifully. It's a really cool look, and then when I put it over layers and other mixed media, it's transparent, so you can see through it, but you can also see what I stamped on top of it, so you get a really cool look, and I do like that a lot. And I actually wasn't thrilled with how it tore because I wasn't expecting it, but in the end I love it. I love how it curls up, and because it's so thin, it would have gotten lost if it hadn't. So the fact that it curled up a little bit just gives it a really cool look. So all in all, I'm very happy with that. I don't know if I would, especially because I didn't love the watercolor paper. I love that it's 12 by 12. But if you are used to Vicki Boutin Foundations paper, this is thin. So it's not what I usually do when I'm doing something real wet. So you have to keep that in mind. And if you're painting some flowers and you're not doing a real heavy hand with the water, it would probably be great. For what I was doing, I didn't love how it absorbs so much water. I didn't love that. However, I'm not a watercolor artist by any stretch, and someone else may think that this is the best watercolor paper ever, and being 12 by 12 is definitely a plus, so you might love it. I love my mixed media in the end, but I'm going to go through a little process here before I love it. So I'm adding splatters, I'm adding extra water, then I'm dropping in more color, I'm adding my drips at the bottom, I'm adding some splatters with just the water because it already has some of the light blue pigment in it because I've been using it now, for a little bit. So that gives a different shade of the blue in my splatters. So that's a nice extra dimension. And I get that kind of running to the outside edges like I like. And I'm just going to keep playing with it. I did mention that today's my daughter's birthday and she loved Winnie the Pooh, and so I really wanted to do these pictures of her daughter and use these Winnie the Pooh products. I bought them just because really Mariah's kids like the Winnie the Pooh characters and that kind of stuff, but Mariah just loved it. Her whole bedroom was Winnie the Pooh. She watched the little videos. They were little 20-minute videos, and they were just all so sweet. And she watched that all the time. It was her favorite. So it was just a fun little memory. And then when I saw these wood veneer and they had the sweetest little quotes from Winnie the Pooh. This one is going to say, "Weeds are flowers too once you get to know them." And the photos are of Addie picking some dandelions and giving them to me, and it was so sweet and fun, and I loved it, and I thought they were perfect for that quote, and I really wanted to scrap those today. So you can see here at this point in the watercoloring that it's really pooling in the center, and no matter how many times I lift it up and let it run and everything out to the edges, it just keeps going to the center. So I am adding my third little blotch over here, and then I'm going to have my cure for this pooling. So we're going to continue to get that kind of to the edges as much as I can. And then I'm going to take my Distress Oxide in Mermaid Lagoon, and I'm going to just get some splatters going here. And I kind of did this first just to test and see if I was going to like the color with it. And I really did. So that is going to be my cure here. I'm going to take a piece of plastic and I'm going to dip it in that ink and then just go right over top of these others. It matched well enough and I knew I could spread this out. I really didn't want to get it over the yellow, the blue, and it's hard to have a lot of control when you're doing this technique. But after I got this smooshed around more and the it spread the color out. I really like how that looked. I'm going to go ahead and continue to add more splatters and finish spreading out all the watercolor the way I like it, but I like this much, much, much better. After I get all the blue that I want, and I'm trying to still protect my little yellow splotch because I really didn't want it to turn green. I'm adding more of just the water splotches as well as the pigment. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add some of that gold while this is still not completely dry. And that turned out so good. I didn't know if it was going to turn out as well as it did. I started out just by adding some of the gold back over top of where the blue had splattered on it because I didn't like the blue splatters inside the yellow. But as I'm splattering this and a little bit is getting into the more wet areas, I love how that looks. It really stayed true gold inside the blue. It didn't turn a real green color, and it kind of just made the prettiest watercolor splotches inside that wet blue areas. So I love how that looks. So I add a few more of the gold, even letting it go in and blend with the blue. And then I have plenty of gold splatters. And here it is once it's all dry. And I'm going to go back in and take this that I stamped and lay it over it. That blue cardstock that I'm tearing right now also has a shimmer to it. I don't know who makes that or where that came from. I just had some scraps left. But it was the perfect color for her shirt, and it worked great with this mixed media because it's all shimmery too. And I love that little bit of sparkle there. So I get that how I want it, and it mimics what Jo Scrapenzo had on her layout. My placement is not exactly the same, and I don't have the same number of layers or actually even the embellishments in the exact same places. However, I did try and keep it true to all the embellishments in, the one cluster on that side where the photos are, and that's what she did. So I did try and do that and leave plenty of white space and the mixed media. I did add some stamping because she had stamped on hers, and I'm using that same ink pad that I had done with some splatters, those two stamp sets, and I chose several different ones and just filled in stamping right over top of the mixed media that I have already, all over that watercolor area. I will say this watercolor paper is great even for stamping. I didn't care if it was perfect or not, but I got really nice true images. And sometimes on watercolor paper it's a little bit harder to get those, because it's so much texture. And this did a great job. I was very pleased with that. So I liked that aspect as well. I have some little plus signs. I have some circles that are open, some circles that are solid. I have some hearts and some smaller dots, I believe. And those are the stamps that I chose, and just to give lots of dimension and interest here. I like how that turned out. Here's my sparkly paper and then the linen paper. I'm only adding the adhesive on the back of the linen paper where it's going to be covered up, because I was fairly certain that it probably would show through because it is a fairly transparent medium that linen paper is. So okay, so this is the Winnie the Pooh paper, and it's this cute little floral, and it's a nice yellow. I tore it, I got it to the size I wanted, and then, spoiler alert, it does not make it on the page. So I won't be able to use this for a background, but it'll be fine later on for some layers. But the color I thought it was going to be good enough because it was going to be behind, the linen, and it was going to be, a lot of it covered up. But honestly, as I kept going, I just didn't love the color. It's just enough different than the yellow mixed media and the other embellishments. I just didn't like it. So I end up switching that out, and it's basically the same shape, the same torn, everything. I'm going to switch that out with the other yellow that is more the right color, and it's a tone on tone with hearts. And I had pulled it out anyway also to use for a layer, but I end up just switching it. I made my own tag out of that 6x9 piece, and that's going to go up there just like she had in hers. I will cut the hole reinforcer out of the sparkly blue that's kind of back there. I just used another piece of that to make the circle. I'll do that here in a little bit. I'm still trying to decide where I want the wood veneer pieces. I kept going back and looking at hers, and I was trying to decide what I could do to make it look more like, where her clusters were. But I in the end, I just made it work for my pictures, and what I was, what I was doing, instead of trying to make it match hers exactly, because that wasn't going to work for me with my pictures where the white space was on those. I felt like I needed to just kind of disregard the scrap lift at that point and go with all of my embellishments are still right around the photos, which is what she did, and I'm going to make mine as I normally do with a scrap lift. I kind of toyed with an idea of the banner, but that was it. I didn't love it, and it wasn't really what she had, so I left that part out. I'll use those banner pieces eventually, but I didn't think they worked on this layout. So I'm finishing up this tag with a little hole reinforcer and poking the hole. I'll find some DMC pearl cotton floss to add to that shortly. And this is one of the chipboard pieces, and it said favorite day, I believe, and it really was a great day with her. She and her brother were spending some time with me that day, and I really enjoyed it. We did all kinds of stuff outside. We jumped in the bounce house, and they like to play with the chickens, so they were playing with the chickens, and then we were just kind of playing, and Hudson was playing with some trucks, as he likes to do, and she was picking me flowers, and we were just having a good time. Now I took the wood veneer, and I still had this little pot of the gold that I used and had mixed up, so I painted him yellow, little Winnie the Pooh, and the wood just takes this beautifully. I wasn't for sure how it was going to turn out, but I thought I'd give it a try. And then Piglet, of course, needs to be pink, so I am adding some pink on Piglet. And I got it a little bit dark, so I just added a little bit more water, and it painted up very nicely as well. And I set that aside to dry. I thought about doing something over the words, because I could have just done like a wash over the whole thing, but I decided to leave it plain, and I'm glad I did. It looks great, and I think that if I would have just tried to do a wash over the whole thing, it would have just made it harder to read. So I like how that looks. I'm still not certain about placement with that, but while I'm deciding, I'm going to find some thread and start thinking about the other embellishments. So this sticker sheet is from the Vicki Boutin Storyteller, which so is the paper that I used for the tag. So I pulled some things out, and I wanted more florals, especially since you're going to see here in just a second, I'm going to ixnay the flower paper. So I did want to some florals on here, because the whole idea is the little dandelions she's picking for me. I took our favorite day off because I found this one that says Heart of Gold, and she really has a heart of gold, and she was just being so sweet with her, handing me those flowers, and she was so proud of herself for finding them in the yard and bringing them to me. So I thought that was appropriate, so Heart of Gold is going to go there. The original layout that I'm scrap lifting here, she does have several phrases and little title words, so I added words in 3 places as well. So here's where I get that switched out, just the same size, and because I liked how it I like where it was, and I liked all of that. I just didn't like the color. This color was just a little bit brighter, and it just matched a little bit better with the yellow mixed media after it was dry. I liked it. I just liked this one a little bit better. So the other one's just kind of a deeper shade, and they work well together, the 2 papers, but I just didn't like that other one on here, and so I just thought I needed to switch it out. So here we go, getting that decided. I'm going to have this one with her big smile straight down, and then I'm going to add foam adhesive to the one where she's handing me the flowers. So that's going to go there and be lifted up. So when you lift up one picture and then add layers over it, you've always got to add more foam adhesive to each of the layers that you're adding over top of it. So you'll see me have to add some foam adhesive also to all of the pieces that are going to go over top of the picture a little bit. So I went and found this yellow. None of the other colors that I had just laying on my desk were working. So this is a brand new one. It is a pearl cotton, and I buy these either from Hobby Lobby or a cherry on top. This one came from a cherry on top, but Hobby Lobby has some of the pearl cotton in different colors as well, and I like it. It's DMC. It's DMC brand, and but it's more of the thickness of twine, and I've always liked using twine. And I like the DMC pearl cotton because, one, you only have to buy a little skein of it and not a great big spool of twine, and 2, it's just available in so many colors. You can stitch with it, whereas when you try and stitch with twine, it unravels and it's not as pretty. So I like the pearl cotton a lot. I do use it quite a bit. If I can find the color that I want in pearl cotton, then I choose it a lot. So I'm adding these florals, and they are stickers, but they do need a little bit of extra on the mixed media, especially since it's a watercolor paper and there's that texture in that. I'm going to add some wet glue with a Nuvo Deluxe adhesive behind each of the stickers just to make sure that they stay stuck and don't let go, since it's on this textured paper. So I'm still trying to decide, and I don't mind that look there where Pooh Bear's up there at the top, but I end up leaving him at the bottom, and then the words are going to rest there on the edge of that picture. And I like how that looks. So I'm getting some of these stuck down and deciding what else I want. I still keep trying to pull this flower in. I just think it's so, it's a daisy, but it looks like a dandelion. So I fussy cut it out. It is a sticker, but I just didn't really want the leaves on it. So I fussy cut around that, and I'm going to use that one. And then I'm going to also decide I need 2 there. So I'm going to pull out the one that's a little bit larger than this and use it as well. Here I found a couple of these brads that I'm going to use. One of them has a gingham just in that yellow, and the other one has Pooh and Piglet walking away and on it, and that's super cute. So I find the other floral and go ahead and fussy cut that one. I think I do most of that off screen, hopefully. There we go, and those are going to be placed there. I didn't like them placed straight down, so I thought I would add a little bit of the Missy Whidden messy circle, although mine's not particularly messy. I just did a little bit, and it's just kind of adding a circle, and she had a element kind of at this part of her layout. So I thought this worked out well, adding the thread there, and I really like how it looked with my florals. And then I have one little tail that I end up kind of pulling out and laying it down and gluing it down so that it kind of just looks like it's loose and free and escaping the circle, but I glue it down so it's not really loose and free at all. It's going to stay exactly where I want it looking like that, though. The wood veneer that you get from Some Assemblage Required, MK Gunn, who is also a scrapbooker, and you can find her page. She has beautiful stuff. Her wood veneer is gorgeous, and it also has adhesive on the back. You just peel the backing off. So the backing is all off at this point, and I'm adding an extra layer of foam where it's going to be touching the layout, and then the self-adhesive part is what's over the picture so that it can all lay flat, because I wouldn't want to have it have more pressure on one side or the other and then end up breaking the little wood veneer. It's not too thick at all. It's a perfect embellishment for a cute layout, and I love her design, so I thought that was a lot of fun. This is the final layout. You can see all that shimmer, and when you get to the there's one here, oh there it is, of Pooh, you can see how pretty that watercolor did over the wood. I love how that looks. There's more pictures of my mixed media. I would really appreciate any comments or feedback that you have about my layout. I appreciate you subscribing, and I will see you again with the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.